Mr. President,
Senator from Arizona.
I'd like to say a few words about the deal negotiated between the P5+1 and Iran to deny Iran the ability to access a nuclear weapon. First, I want to commend the administration and others involved in the negotiations for seeking a diplomatic solution. There needs to always be a credible threat of military force to deny Iran a nuclear weapon, but it's incumbent on us to test every avenue for a peaceful solution before resorting to such force. I am mindful that any agreement involving multiple parties that are friendly, belligerent, and somewhere in between, like any agreement like that, this agreement can't be judged against the ideal. It has to be judged against the alternative. On the whole, this agreement measured against the ideal doesn't look all that good. Against the alternative, it's a much closer call. I must say that I'm not as sanguine as some of my colleagues about the ability to reassemble the multilateral sanctions regime that has brought Iran to the negotiating table. On the nuclear side, Iran's ability to amass sufficient fissile material to assemble a nuclear weapon would be severely curtailed for up to 15 years. The inspections regime to ensure compliance, at least as it pertains to known nuclear facilities, is fairly detailed. That is no small achievement, and much credit is due to the scientists and others who assisted with the negotiations. On the other hand, I have grave concerns regarding our ability, and if not our ability, our willingness to respond to nefarious non-nuclear activities that Iran may be involved with in the region. We're assured by the administration that under the JCPOA, Congress retains all tools, including sanctions, should Iran involve itself in terrorist activity in the region. However, the plain text of the JCPOA does not seem to indicate this. In fact, it seems to indicate otherwise. Iran has made it clear that it believes the imposition of sanctions similar to or approximating those currently in place would violate the JCPOA. Now, my concern is that the administration would be reluctant to punish or deter unacceptable non-nuclear behavior by Iran in the region if it would give Iran the pretext not to comply with the agreement as it stands. I don't believe that this is an idle concern. The degree to which the administration has resisted even the suggestion that Congress reauthorize the Iran Sanctions Act, for example, which expires next year, so that we might have sanctions to snap back to, it makes us question our willingness to confront Iran when it really matters down the road. Now, if this were a treaty, it could be dealt with what are called RUDs, or reservations, understandings, and declarations, where we could clarify some of these misunderstandings. But since this was presented to Congress as an executive agreement, we don't have that option. Now, we've had numerous hearings and briefings in the Senate Foreign Relations Committee, and I want to commend Senator Corker, the chairman of the committee, and Ranking Minority Member Cardin for the manner in which they've engaged in these hearings and briefings. We have had a lot of questions raised. Some have been answered, some have not. These hearings will continue. I'll leave from this chamber to another briefing that we're having. I expect to hear more of it in the coming weeks, and we'll seek to answer questions that I still have about the agreement. The bottom line is I can only support an agreement that I feel can endure, not just be signed, but can endure, and will serve our national interest and the interests of our allies. So again, I want to commend those who have been involved in this process. I want to commend those involved in ensuring that Congress had a say here. And I'll continue to evaluate this agreement based, like I said, not on the ideal, but the alternative. There are many questions that I would like to have answered, and I would encourage the administration to work with Congress in the coming weeks on legislation that would clarify some of these misunderstandings. It would take the place of the so-called RUDs that we could do if this were a treaty. I have mentioned before, this kind of legislation is going to come. It will come prior to implementation day. And I think it behooves the administration and the Congress to begin now to work together on items that we can agree on to clarify this, assuming this legislation, that this agreement will go into effect. It ought to be clarified now and not down the road. And that would make it far more likely to be an enduring document rather than one that is simply signed and forgotten later. With that, Mr. President, I yield back.